Hey everybody, this is Kevin, and today we are talking about mega public domain collections like this one. Oh yeah, this is a huge public domain collection of 180 cartoons. By the way, that's not actually a huge amount. I've seen some collections that have 300 cartoons, that kind of thing. And you see these floating around a lot of the times now on the internet, but you used to find them quite a bit more at places like Walmart. Target would have this kind of thing. You would definitely also have this available through certain mail order things. I think I saw something like this on like Fingerhut at some point. But anyway, you have these large collections that have tons and tons of public domain cartoons. And one of the major questions that I get a lot in my message box is, Kevin, would you recommend that I go out and buy these large collections? I have talked about Cartoon Craze before, which usually gives you in like the 15 or so cartoon range. I've talked about Cartoon Factory. I've also talked about Treasure Box and their cartoon collections. And so the question is it worth it to just go out and get a huge, massive collection like this? Is that better than getting all those little Cartoon Craze type DVDs? My answer is I don't think this kind of thing is a good buy. I would rather personally go out and buy the other ones, like the Cartoon Craze or the Toon Factory. Why would I say that? Well, let's go over some of this. One, you have these collections here, which are just massive when it comes to all these different cartoons that you can select from. As you look here, this is the list on the DVD. And forgive the fact that the plastic here is kind of dirty. Somebody had a sticker on here, and the sticker just would never come off very well. But you have these large lists here of cartoons, and it takes forever to find the cartoon that you want. These things just have so many cartoons on it, both finding the one that you want right here on the box and trying to access it on the DVD. And by the way, I'll show you a copy of the DVD in just a second. It's almost impossible to look through here and find things. Secondly, when you are looking for cartoons on here, you have another problem. Unfortunately, it's very, very difficult to present these nearly as well as Toon Factory or Cartoon Craze. They do a good job of making it look nice in the box and usually assembling things somewhat together. A lot of times, though, on these kinds of collections, they don't necessarily have the cartoons all together in ways that make sense. Now, this one, if you looked at it closely, some of it does, like the Superman cartoons from Fleischer. They have most of them grouped here together. But then you also have a lot of cartoons that were from famous studios spread out over the disc, which is kind of annoying. If you like those kind of cartoons, you want to find them together, or if you don't like those cartoons, you want to avoid them. But they don't do it in a way here where you can really do that very easily. Also, it doesn't really tell you who the star is. For example, if I like Casper the Friendly Ghost, there are some Casper cartoons on here, but unless I look through here and read and find titles and know that title is a Casper cartoon, I have no way of really being able to check that. So really, cataloging is a big problem with these kinds of things. It's easier, honestly, to just type into YouTube public domain Casper cartoons, and you can find them a whole lot easier. It's a much easier thing than doing this. And honestly, it just doesn't look that great, guys. I mean, sitting on a shelf, this one collection is kind of cheap looking, but when you have like the Cartoon Craze, yes, you're spending a few extra bucks to get these collections and stuff online. But in general, it looks better on the shelf, and they're organized a little bit better. One other negative is a lot of times you'll have them in these kind of cheap ways of putting them together. For example, they have it kind of all stacked on top of each other here, which is a pain. You have to pull all of them out to get the last one. And if you look at the DVDs themselves, they oftentimes get scratched because they're not really protected all that well. This one's okay, if you look at it. But sometimes these are pretty darn scratched. It's because they're kept poorly. Or they're put in those like papery, plasticky kind of sleeve things, which are cheap and they always fall out. It's kind of annoying. So in general, I wouldn't recommend this. Let me show you real quick what it looks like on the TV screen, and then I'll let you guys go. Again, keep in mind the lines going down the screen. That's just because of the camera rate and things. That's not on the actual screen itself. So I'm going to choose a cartoon here. And again, they don't really have it listed as the cartoons being together. So unless I knew that these are all Superman cartoons, I wouldn't necessarily know that they're all Superman cartoons. It's kind of a pain to get down to the main and next buttons on this particular disc. And this is TGG, by the way. This is TGG's version of this mega pack. So I kind of have to go down in a certain configuration in order to get to the main or next buttons. It's not a huge deal, but it's kind of a pain. As you can see here, it transfers over to, I guess, a couple Casper cartoons. But there's some Casper cartoons on the second disc that I looked at. So they have them separated for whatever reason. And it is nice that they give you these kind of screen shots, giving you an idea of what it looks like. So that does help. But it also means that it is kind of clunky. You have to kind of do a lot of scrolling because they have all the space set up to show you the film. So I'm just not a huge fan of this kind of format, guys. And you could scroll forever trying to find a cartoon on here. So it's almost easier to have a different DVD to plug in and find the public domain cartoon that you're actually trying to show. It's kind of a pain. So, at the end of the day, if you're going to be cheap and have cheap public domain cartoons, don't be cheap about it. Spend a few extra bucks, get the nicer, Cartoon Craze, that kind of thing, and I think you'll be happier. It'll be easier to access your films, and you'll find that you use those more often than those mega collections I just showed you. Or, if you want to just be even easier than that, just be lazy and get used to using your computer and finding it on YouTube or whatever. That also works. Hopefully this makes you a little bit more art smart, and you'll continue to come back for more commentary and discussion on cartoons and DVDs. Bye-bye.